According to the Bible, the poor you will always have, and you will be there to help them. Mark 14:7. Today, the majority of the world's poorest countries live in economies that are declining, and nearly more than 500 million people will continue to live in extreme poverty. According to the book, The Bottom Billion by Paul Collier, the countries at the bottom coexist with the 21st century. However, their reality is the 14th century, which is civil war, plague, and ignorance. Its prevalence is scattered all over the globe, merely in Central Asia and Africa. Because of my experience with poverty, this problem matters to me, and not just to the billions of people living and dying in 14th century conditions. As the bottom billion diverges from an increasingly sophisticated world economy, integration will be much harder. By the end of my speech, an individual should be able to articulate and thoroughly elaborate on the two main causes of the prevalence of poverty, which is diseases and lack of education. Second, the harmful impacts poverty has on society. And finally, inform you on the solutions to minimize poverty. To begin with, let me elaborate how diseases and lack of education lead towards the prevalence of poverty. Diseases such as cholera contribute to the prevalence of poverty. According to the Mayo Clinic, cholera is a bacterial disease in which spreads through dirty, contaminated water. Due to the limited capacity of assistance, countries do not have access to clean water. So as people poop and pee in the water, since they have no modern day sewage systems nor technology, flies and anybody that comes into contact with the disease can easily spread it. Poor sanitary conditions also contribute to the prevalence of cholera. Since people do not have enough money to buy sanitary products nor have sanitary bathrooms, prevalence of cholera is much greater, which means it will cause great pain and poverty. So imagine that, being in great pain with no type of assistance. A cholera epidemic is most prevalent when society risks of war, poverty, and natural disasters, which forces individuals to live in areas with zero adequate sanitary conditions. Diseases cause individuals to stop attending school and work, which leads up to my second main cause of poverty, which is lack of education. It is our prayer to God that we live long enough to see these children grow up so that they are able to help themselves. Heard on Morning Edition by Jason Bivio. Some individuals who live in extreme poverty do not have an education due to the plethora of barriers boosting individuals from their education. These children, in order to live long, must need an education. According to a concerned worldwide US, education is often referred to as a great equalizer. And that's because education can open doors to jobs and resources and skills that family need, not to just survive, but to thrive. UNESCO estimates that 171 million people could be lifted out of extreme poverty if they left school with basic reading skills. And with even more education, world poverty could be cut in half. Developing countries need a drastic amount of educated individuals in order to succeed. According to the book Global Extreme Poverty by Max Roser, states that poverty tends to be more frequent in countries where education is less developed. Now, we'll look at the harmful impacts poverty has on society. This may not be a problem to the wealthy people, but it is a problem to our brothers and sisters living and dying in these conditions. According to TVP, the vicious cycle of poverty means that lifelong barriers and troubles are passed from one generation to the next. Unemployment and low incomes create an environment where children are unable to attend school. Children must work to provide an income for their family. As for the children who go to school, many fail to see how hard work can improve their lives as they see their parents struggle. Ultimately, poverty is a major cause of social tensions and threatens to divide a nation because of income inequality. This occurs when the wealth of a country is poorly distributed among its citizens. Technically speaking, when a tiny minority has the majority of the money. Wealthy, developed countries maintain stability due to the presence of the middle class. However, Western countries are losing their middle class. As a result, there's a plethora of riots. For society, poverty is a very dangerous factor that can destabilize an entire country. An example being Arab Spring. Arab Spring, it was revolts over few jobs and poverty, the prevalence of poverty. Now we shall look at the solutions to reduce poverty. According to Sharmista Sivamarkishman, in 2014, a national campaign launched by the Prime Minister of India to free the country from open defecation practices. Through this campaign in Bihar alone, 19 times as many toilets were built in Patina between 2017 to 2018 compared to 2014 when it was just launched. This progress in building infrastructure around toilets is remarkable, pointing to the deep dedication of public policy to addressing the prevalence of open defecation, which causes diseases. This also creates jobs, as the campaigns are labor-intensive, jobs including containment, removal, transport, and treatment and disposal. Innovation that excites your colon. Also, for lack of education, which was previously stated in my speech, as a review, we have learned two main causes, which is lack of education and diseases, the harmful impacts poverty has on society, and finally, the solutions to reduce poverty. Due to diseases and lack of education, poverty will always be around us. However, I have faith that the emotions felt of the human body will persuade individuals to take the initiative in innovating sanitary and educational solutions. We might find it easy to take things for granted. Even I find myself being ungrateful, and I hate myself for that. Do not let your brothers and sisters die from these 14th century conditions. That's way beyond the past. In fact, it is unethical. Thank you.